This year's national budget was anything but ordinary, from the absence of the ceremonial Volkswagen Passat to the eerie silence where cheering crowds once stood and the sight of helicopters overhead as protests brewed just meters away. Trevor Ngeno now shares the highlights of John Mbadi's first budget at the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary.
On what is typically a day of ceremonial grandeur and patriotic optics, this year's national budget presentation unfolded with unexpected restraint and tight security, marking a notable departure from tradition. Long before the band began its march and the budget briefcase was lifted for the cameras, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi was already in his office at the National Treasury building along Harambee Avenue in the heart of Nairobi, going through the final figures of his first national budget.
Now, this is not dummy.
The former minority leader in the National Assembly seemed to have embraced the weight of his new role fully.
It's very interesting. First, it is exciting, I must admit. Well, I don't think I've ever got any much attention as I've gotten this time.
In contrast to past budget days when Kenyans lined the streets outside the National Treasury, waving flags and breaking into patriotic songs at the sight of the Cabinet Secretary raising the briefcase, this year bore no such color or public celebration, as security cordons kept citizens far from both the National Treasury and Parliament buildings. When Mbadi finally emerged shortly after 1 p.m, he lifted the iconic budget briefcase as has been the tradition, but instead of cheers and ululations, there was only the clicking of cameras, the silent stare of riot police, and the low thrum of protests echoing from the city blocks nearby. Adding to the departure from norm, Mbadi abandoned the ceremonial Volkswagen Passat, long considered a symbol of modern state power, and instead walked to Parliament led by a marching military band. Above him, a police surveillance helicopter hovered in slow circles. For over 2 hours, Mbadi moved through the speech, touching on tax policy, austerity plans and spending priorities. All this to a poorly attended Parliament. Trevor Ngeno for Prime Edition.